they have different ways of learning. So this everyone knows. I mean, right? This is something we've known. Someone writes and learns. Someone mugs it up. Exam se pehle, ratta maar lete hain. Someone likes to watch and learn. Someone likes to listen and learn. Right? So different people learn differently, that we know. Now, when different researchers have, defined these learning styles, they have done it in different ways. So the basic way that someone initially defined learning styles was by visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners. You must have heard of these terms, that visual learning, auditory learning, or kinesthetic, learning by doing, learning by watching, learning by listening. Right? So initially someone said that there are three types of learners. There are visual learners, there are auditory learners, and there are kinesthetic learners. So that was fine. But if you look at it very carefully, what part of the learning process is this addressing, this learning style? Perceiving. It is dividing learners on the basis of which they perceive. Right? Then there was another gentleman called Dr. David Cobb. He said that if the process is perceive and process, if the learning process or method is perceive and process, then we should refine this definition of learning style by including the way people process information also. So he said that there are two ways in which people perceive information, that is by feeling and thinking, and there are two ways by which they process information, by doing and watching. So therefore there became four combinations. I'll explain. So let's say this is perceive. This is the graph of people who perceive in different ways. On the bottom is people who perceive by thinking, and he named it as abstract conceptualization. Means you have conceptualized something in your mind. This heat of the flame is not a physical experience to you, it's a concept that is there in your mind. So at one end of the spectrum are people who perceive by thinking. At the other end of the spectrum are people who perceive by feeling. Now it is a preference, it is an internal thing. Some people prefer to perceive by thinking, some people prefer to perceive by feeling. No one will be at either ends. 100% of the time, you will not perceive everything by just thinking. In certain situations, you will also maybe like to feel. For example, suppose there is a new dish, a very interesting dish. You go to a restaurant and someone tells you, this is how it is made and this is how it is. Would you like to taste it and find out, or by that description or by that will you be able to visualize or conceptualize that taste? You have to taste it. So it's not that anyone who likes to perceive by thinking will always perceive by thinking. So you, depending on your preference, you will lie somewhere on this line, depending on to which side you are biased. Similarly, if this is the graph for processing information, you will lie somewhere on this line. So what Cobb did, Dr. David Cobb, he combined these two and he divided the world into four types of people. People who perceive by feeling and process by watching. People who perceive by feeling and process by doing. People who perceive by thinking and process by watching. People who perceive by thinking and process by doing. So these are the four different types of learning styles as per David Cobb. So he gave them all a name. He called them diverger, assimilator, converger, accommodator. Right. Now we need not go into further detail as far as this is concerned. Needless to say that suppose we say that there are four different types of learners. Now as a trainer, you are also one type of learner. You may be somewhere in out of these 1, 2, 3 or 4, one will be your learning style, right? And in your class, amongst your participants, you will have people of all four learning styles. Law of averages. By law of averages, you will have how much percent of each style? One fourth, 25%. 25% you will have of each style. Now, what happens? Natural tendency is whatever is my learning style, I prefer to teach in that way also. You agree? That is natural tendency. So therefore, if you do that, what is the percentage of your participants that are learning effectively? 25%, one fourth. What is happening to the balance 75%? It is not that they are not learning at all. It is not that they are not learning at all, but their learning is not as effective as of those 25% who are of your own learning style. So what should you do? Mix it. You should be aware that there are 4 different types of learners, and you should be able to meet the needs of all these 4 different types of learners. And if you can meet them, then the effectiveness of your training goes up from how much to how much? 25% to 100%. Of course, you may not have 100% effectiveness, but it is a substantial difference. You are at least addressing everyone, right? So how do you do that? It's easy to talk in theory that we should address all 4 types. How do you do that?
Multiple ways.
Sorry?
Use multiple ways of teaching, like pictures, videos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Multiple ways of teaching. Right? What else? So, sorry?
Add more of, when you're, for good listeners, you can add more of your own experiences.
Right.
Visuals, this kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So I have just abbreviated this so that for the basic understanding. What Cobb said thereafter, he listed what are the characteristics of all these types of learners, and he said how they can be mixed and matched. But the essence of that was that out of each of these learners, there is one question which is on top of their minds. There is one type of learner who says, I want a reason. Why? That is the question that they want to know the most. The second wants to know what. I want to know the content. There is a third who wants to try it out. How? How does this happen? And the fourth wants to directly apply it. What if? So, if we have to meet the needs of all these 4, in every session, in every training program, we must make sure that we are answering these 4 questions. Why, what, how, and what if. How to do it, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Practically, how are you going to apply this? We are going to talk about it tomorrow, that how are you going to structure your session so that you can answer these questions. Needless to say, just to understand here that these are the 4 key questions that we need answered in any session. Why do we want them answered? Is to cater for all the 4 different learning styles, right? And that is how we are increasing the effectiveness of our training from 25% to 100%. Okay, this is one way. Second way, add on to what you were saying. Let's go back. So, if we are giving our participants, let's go back here in fact. In our workshop, in our training, if we are giving participants the opportunity to perceive both by feeling and thinking, and to process both by doing and watching, then we are catering to all the 4 learning styles. Think about it. Yes. So we are, how do we do that? Mixing different types of learning methods. So interactivity, question answers, group discussions, activities, feedback. When you are putting all these ingredients, then the same thing that same person, you are taking it away as it suits you, you are taking it away as it suits you. So what, it's like putting a buffet, right? Instead of serving a person a plate, you are putting a buffet, everyone comes and picks up what they like, and that is the way in which our training sessions or our training programs should be structured. How to do that, we will see. How do we answer those 4 questions? So this was as far as these learning styles was concerned. Okay. Any questions you have about learning styles? It is a little conceptual thing, but it's just for background knowledge. It's not that you need to every time you need to think about it. Tomorrow we will practically see how you apply it. But any questions you have?
One day training program basically covering a mix of all the 4 type of learners. Mostly it is a slideshow basically what is shown in the training program. Quite difficult. So we cannot build models, or we cannot do, like here we talk about show the connection. We want to see what is happening.
But you can answer those 4 questions. Can you answer those 4 questions about that topic?
Yes.
So, also, 1, 2,
Audio style, you just
no, it is not audio. You see, you are showing slides. So, it is audio as well as visual. Can you show some videos?
Videos are.
Right? Can you ask questions which makes them think? So, you are giving them an opportunity to think. Can you generate discussion? Can you ask them to discuss something? So, one way of doing it is, okay, in groups of 3s, you discuss, brainstorm. Right? I give a question, okay. For example, suppose I say, okay, how can you create a comfortable learning environment? Okay, you all discuss. I give you 10 minutes. You discuss. Thereafter, we will all share our. Now that is another way. So what is happening? You are all sharing your experiences. You are thinking about it. You are coming out with new solutions, and then when everyone is discussing it, so those are various ways and means in which it can be done. Yeah. What else? Any other questions about learning style? Yeah.
So ideally, in a training program, we should utilize each and every of the training techniques.
Training
All
techniques?
training techniques.
Yes.
So,
But it depends on the topic also. If it's a very technical topic, then it's not all that easy to use all those techniques. But if you understand this concept, then automatically you will try and build these things into it. For example, answering those 4 questions. That is something that you can always do.
that is why the pre-assessment form is so.
Yes. And also tomorrow when we talk about delivering training and how to practically do it, it will become a lot clearer.
Learning style is inherent, or it is also affected by the organization?
Individual.
It is the preference. We say learning style, it is the preferred way in which you like to learn.
It is inherent, or it is, in the organization we are working like a different type of
Interest per dependent.
or it is a utility segment and learning style maybe slightly.
As per Dr. David Cohn, it is inherent. So the example I often give is like whether you prefer tea or coffee. It's a preference. Sometimes that preference also changes. And also
Your own interest.
your own interest and your preference.
No,
Also, sorry.
Sorry,
Please.
because I find the type of honestly of working environment we are working in basically and not impact on the learning.
If you actually Google Cohn learning style and if you go into it, you might find that you've gone into that particular type of organization because you are that type. Yeah. Yeah. So it says you read that. I can send it to you if you want. It says that okay. So specifically that this particular type of learners more often prefer to be engineers.
That's why I'm saying that one basically addressing a segment of say utility engineers what we are talking about. Probably what this type of tool had come into us.
No, but okay. So I come back to what I was telling you about tea and coffee, right? So and this is a beautiful analogy of learning styles with tea and coffee. Okay, what happens? How many of you prefer tea over coffee then? Yeah. 1, 2.
Coffee.
Tea over coffee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. How many of you prefer coffee? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. How many neither? Reason to neither. So you prefer a cold drink?
Hard drink.
Nothing. Okay. Cold drink. Hard drink. Okay. Okay.
Andrology, sir, here.
Andrology.
Andrology.
Okay. So, similarly, suppose your preference is your learning style. Okay. Now, does that mean that you will never have the other thing? That you do have coffee or tea sometimes, depending on availability or mood also, right? Okay. So, when you are catering for this learning, suppose I am serving only tea. So everyone will have. Someone will enjoy it or get more marginal utility out of it in economic terms. Someone will get less, right? Instead of that, if I put tea, coffee and cold drink, I can't put hard drink. If I put tea, coffee and soft drinks, then what is happening? Everyone is getting what they want. So that is how your training program should be, conceptually. I know it's easier to conceptualize than to do it practically. But tomorrow we will try and see how we can do it.
For some training program will ask so many questions basically. If you want, don't get a question.
See, I think if the participants are asking questions, it's a very good sign. Because
That's what I feel.
no, I agree with you 100%. But I told you the reason. It's the other way around, not this way around.
There is a saying that a good teacher is not the one who gets the student 100 by 100, but who encourages the student to ask 100 questions.
Certainly, ma'am. Absolutely. Because you see, okay, and especially in an adult learning environment again, you look at it this way, even a trainer is not know-all. Right? What Arvind had also said. Be frank in admitting, okay, I don't know this. Okay, let anyone else answer. I'm sure someone will come out with the answer.
In fact, you should do that at the starting of the session itself. That you can be open about it and tell people that just say, look, I might not have
All the answers. Absolutely.
May backfire also. Kuch bhi nahi मालूम. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Again, because the reason is, so when you are opening, it is not an opening statement. Because you would have done some, and then then you inject this, and then you build the entire thing.
No, also a lot depends on the audience.
Yeah.
If the audience is with you in any case, then it's all right. If they are not, then
That's how we have to.
Yeah, senior audience
This
and
is from the point of view of whether it's a paid training program or, as she said, pushed training program because of compulsion. So paid guy, you have seen both, right? And now it's limited and not fully. That the paid guy wants everything. He wants to know all these things actually. He will not leave you like that. Whereas the other way, of khatam hoga, he'll always look at the time, right? He wants to leave. So
actually,
how do you
no, actually I'll tell you, what you're saying is absolutely right, but the way I look at it is different. The paid guy is already motivated. That is why he's paying to come for that training, because he's looking at application. There's a reason why he's come for this training, very, very clearly. Why have all of you come for this training? There's a reason why you've come. Right? So essentially there is something called WIIFM. I'm sure you heard of this term. What does this stand for? What's in it for me? What is in it for me? WIIFM.
मेरा क्या?
इसमें मेरा क्या फायदा है? If this is not clear to your participant, then he is not motivated. If this is clear, he is motivated. Simple.
मेरा क्या है मुझको
So,
क्या?
yes, I want to express something.
अरे मेरा
No,
क्या
no,
नहीं
yeah,
है मुझको क्या?
this training is not an abstract phenomenon. This training is as per the needs of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy.
Right.
We are taking that energy of the father son, okay, something like that. So what I want to express is the needs of the awareness is this types of training, because the sir Bandobrai have already said that without training the utilities engineers, maybe in E-Tech levels or M-Tech levels or PhD level, and we can do something about this interfacing the solar PV and energy that grid energy, that how to interface with this without any risk to the users or customers.
No,
Solar.
I agree with you.
So the need of the hour is this, because of that we are coming here and to explore something about how we can devise to say design the training method to give the
Absolutely. So you are very clear.
needs of the hour is that I think like this. So without the needs, is what is it for me? What is it for me? He only needs money, okay, and he may get some enjoyment, that's all. But without contribution to his nations or to his peoples, then what is?
No, that see, different people are motivated differently. There are people who are motivated intrinsically. There are people who are motivated extrinsically. You know the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? This is a society. Some people feel, proud with, यहाँ कचरा पड़ा है मैं उठा दूंगा. I am not getting anything out of it. It's intrinsic in me. Whereas some people are extrinsically motivated. If there is some faida, then only I will do. But that faida, whether it is intrinsic or extrinsic, something has to be in that person for him. And that is a challenge that you all are going to face when you are training utility engineers. How to convey what is in it for them. That is something that you need to give a thought to. And I think that probably Dinesh and Arvind will probably be able to tell you how you can put that, the benefits to them, not to their organizations, to them. Maybe better career prospects, maybe that you learn this, tomorrow you retire, you can go and start a solar business. So that you have to convey right in the beginning and convey it very, very strongly. If you want to get their attention and if you want to motivate them for the rest of the training, you have to convey this to them. Any questions? Okay. So in this session, what I have covered, I have talked about the difference between pedagogy and andragogy. I have said that normally it is observed that most trainers are not aware of adult learning methodologies and therefore the training is not as effective. Then we have talked about what are the characteristics of adult learners and what are the implications of those characteristics to us as trainers. Then we have seen the need for creating a comfortable learning environment for our participants, that is physically, socially and psycho-emotionally. And lastly, we've seen that there are different types of learners or learning styles. What is the question that each one of them asks primarily, and what do we need to do to be able to take our trainings from 25% to 100%. Right. So any questions you have in all this that I have covered? Most sensitive part would depend a lot on the audience, on the participants. See, I'll give you an example. In a particular audience, that sensitive part may be language issue. In a particular audience, like I said, if you are in the same organization and you have senior and junior person, then the sensitive part may be that inter se hierarchies. It'll a lot